For a long time, many people have believed that masturbation in older age can have terrifying effects, from blindness to impotence. But is that really true? Turning 60 doesn't mean your life has to be filled with unfounded restrictions. In fact, there's another side to this topic that's rarely discussed, and it might just change how you view this habit. Behind the stigma surrounding masturbation in later life lies a rarely highlighted fact. The negative effects often stem not from the activity itself, but from extreme pornography consumption and compulsive behavior. For some, especially seniors who spend more time at home with internet access, the temptation to fill time with adult content can become an unchecked routine. This is what can quietly lead to real psychological issues. Repeated exposure to intense pornographic content can disrupt the brain's dopamine system, the hormone involved in feelings of pleasure and reward. Over time, the brain's reward system becomes less sensitive, making simple things in the real world feel bland or unsatisfying. It's not uncommon for people to find it harder to experience joy from everyday activities, even in real relationships with partners. This condition can spill over into other problems. Increased social anxiety, awkward interactions with family, and decreased satisfaction in real-life relationships. Psychological effects like these, according to clinical research, are not myths. In fact, behavioral addiction to pornography is now recognized as a mental health issue in many countries. It's not just about dopamine. The body also responds by increasing adrenaline and cortisol, two stress hormones that, when continuously triggered, worsen stress reactivity, especially in individuals who are sensitive or have a history of anxiety. Such cases often occur quietly. Many seniors end up complaining about losing closeness with their partners, feeling their lives have become dull, or experiencing sleep issues due to pornography addiction. The problem isn't the masturbation itself, but rather the pattern of extreme content consumption and uncontrolled frequency that triggers psychological, social, and even family relationship issues. But are all these worries proven true? Or is it the opposite? Let's break down the facts one by one. When people hear the word masturbation in the context of being over 60, some immediately raise their eyebrows. The question is simple. Is it true that masturbation in older age actually harms the body? Maybe you've heard various scary stories, whether from friends, family, or even the media, threats of blindness, impotence, and even heart attacks. Are these fears real or just persistent myths? First, it's important to acknowledge that the body does undergo significant changes as it ages. Decreased hormones, reduced energy, and increased risk of chronic diseases are often cited as reasons to avoid sexual activities, including masturbation. But does an aging body automatically become weak and unable to handle sexual stimulation? A study by the American Urological Association reveals that over 70% of men and more than 50% of women aged 60 and above are still actively masturbating or at least have an interest in personal sexuality. This means sexual needs aren't just a young person's game. It's a basic human instinct that lasts a lifetime. But statistics alone aren't enough. So, what about health? The biggest fears often stem from myths. One of the most popular ones, masturbation can cause blindness, impotence, or even heart problems in old age. At first glance, all that sounds scary. But let's test the logic. According to the Mayo Clinic, there's never been clinical evidence linking masturbation to blindness, brain damage, or heart issues, whether in youth or old age. Blindness? There's no biological mechanism supporting this claim. Infertility? The fact is, men's bodies continue to produce new sperm every day, and women don't lose reproductive function just because of masturbation. Lower testosterone? Medical research actually finds that healthy sexual activity helps maintain hormonal balance in older adults. Why do such myths persist? Maybe because of uncertainty and fear of facing bodily changes in old age. Or perhaps because of a social environment that's uncomfortable discussing sexuality in later years. However, when we look at medical data, those accusations just fall apart. Once the myth is peeled away, a new question arises. If it's not harmful, is it actually beneficial? The answer isn't as simple as yes or no. The benefits of masturbation, especially for those 60 and over, vary for each person, depending on physical, psychological, and social perspectives. Medically speaking, masturbation in men has been shown to have a protective function for prostate health. A Harvard study published in JAMA 2016, involving over 30,000 men across a wide age range, showed that ejaculating at least 21 times a month reduces the risk of prostate cancer by 20 to 30%. The ejaculation process helps clear the prostate of substances that could trigger inflammation or even cancer. For men, this data is clear. Regular masturbation has a real protective effect. What about women? Masturbation helps maintain blood circulation to the pelvic area, keeps the vaginal walls moist and elastic, and prevents vaginal atrophy that often occurs after menopause. Data from Planned Parenthood and the Cleveland Clinic indicate that older women who stay sexually active, including through masturbation, tend to experience less irritation, urinary tract infections, or incontinence issues. Beyond the physical, many wonder, are there psychological impacts to watch out for, or are there emotional benefits from this activity? Talking about sex in old age is taboo for many people, but research from the American Psychological Association shows that seniors who acknowledge and take care of their sexual needs tend to have more stable mental health. After masturbation, your body releases hormones that relax you and improve your mood. As a result, stress decreases and sleep improves. A study in the Sleep Medicine Journal, 2020, found that older adults who masturbate before bed experience better sleep quality and fewer insomnia complaints. Not only that, they also report more stable emotions and less loneliness. However, not every story has a happy ending. A new question arises: is there a dark side to this activity? Turns out there isn't. Based on survey data from the CDC and Harvard, it's found that the majority, around 80 to 90% of American men and more than 60% of women, who have ever or are still actively masturbating don't show clinical evidence of physical, mental, or sexual disorders, as long as it's done in moderation. Masturbation only becomes a problem when it turns into an escape, an addiction, or when it always requires increasingly extreme stimulation. The American Urological Association notes that cases of compulsive sexual behavior disorder among older adults remain a minority. Most seniors who masturbate actually experience benefits: better sleep, more stable emotions, and increased confidence. But how does this apply in real life? Here are some stories that might offer lessons. Because numbers alone aren't enough, let's look at these real-life stories. Robert, 68, a retiree, was haunted by fear because he'd often heard that masturbation causes heart problems. After talking with his doctor, he decided to stay sexually active, both alone and with his partner. A year later, his medical checkup showed a healthy prostate, improved blood pressure, and most importantly, better sleep quality and mood. His fear gradually faded. On the other hand, there's Mary, 64, a widow who refused to talk about sexuality. She suppressed her biological needs for years, eventually falling into mild depression and insomnia. After counseling and medical data education, she slowly accepted that taking care of her sexual needs is a form of self-care, not something shameful. Conversely, Carrie's case, at 67, actually proves the dangers of addiction. He admitted losing interest in social and family activities because he spent too much time watching pornography and masturbating repeatedly. The effects: disturbed sleep, strained relationship with his wife, and emerging social anxiety. After undergoing therapy, he began learning to regulate the frequency and find new activities to fill his free time. The next question, which many are curious about, is: how often is masturbation still considered safe? There's no set number, as everyone's needs are different. However, the CDC and Planned Parenthood recommend, if this activity doesn't interfere with daily life, doesn't cause excessive guilt, and isn't the only escape from life's problems, then masturbation is still considered healthy. If you start experiencing symptoms like extreme guilt, decreased interest in social relationships, or always needing more extreme stimulation to achieve satisfaction, it's time to consult a professional. Important: Masturbation isn't a problem unless it's out of control or becomes compulsive. This is the clear line that needs to be understood. Sexuality isn't just a biological matter, it's also about self-esteem, feeling accepted, and quality of life. Seniors who are open about and take care of their sexual needs, whether alone or with a partner, tend to have better confidence and maintain their memory. Staying sexually active helps prevent feelings of alienation or isolation. Many studies show that seniors who engage in healthy sexuality, including masturbation, usually feel more emotionally connected and are less prone to severe depression. Remember, age is never a reason to stop taking care of yourself. What's important is being aware and knowing your limits. If at any point you feel your behavior is getting out of control, don't hesitate to seek help. At any age, masturbation is a right, not something to be ashamed of as long as it's controlled and not an escape from problems. So, after peeling back the layers, it's up to you. Do you want to live by myths, or are you brave enough to accept the facts? In short, almost all myths about the dangers of masturbation in old age have been debunked by medical data. As long as you can control yourself, masturbation is not only safe, but can also be part of a healthy lifestyle in later years. Risks only arise if masturbation is paired with extreme pornography consumption or becomes an escape from psychological issues. Bottom line, trust the data. Don't let old stigmas control your life. Know your own healthy limits, enjoy a better quality of life, and don't hesitate to educate those around you with credible data. Those are the facts and myths that have been uncovered. Now I want to know your thoughts. Were there any facts that surprised you or contradicted your beliefs? Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments section. Subscribe for more logical and data-driven discussions. If there's another topic you'd like to discuss, let me know below. See you in the next video.